Brenner Mills, Minnesota Vikings. Just want to win one before I die.
Dalton Zongrecker, Dallas Cowboys. Just trying to earn a little respect.
Lane Cooter, the conductor of the Baker train.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Wide Eye Sports Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking just a little bit. We just want to take a few minutes out of your day, and we want to talk about a little Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, the two biggest names on the free agent quarterback market left. Lots of talk, lots of drama surrounding Rodgers. Russ has taken a couple visits. I believe he's visited Cleveland and New York, but New York Giants just signed Jameis Winston. So it seems like your options, if you're Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, are kind of limited to a Tennessee, a Cleveland, a Pittsburgh. I think that Pittsburgh is obviously the prime landing spot, and Aaron Rodgers just spent an entire day at their facilities the other day. Any thoughts off the top before we get too deep into this? Anything you guys have specifically that you're thinking about?
I mean, I think the Steelers are kind of running out of time here. Not really the Steelers, I guess, but I think Rodgers and Russ are probably running out of time to sign with the Steelers. It's weird because, like, by now the Steelers should already have their quarterback named.
Yeah.
And I feel like I think they're trying too hard to get Rodgers at this point. And Rodgers, back to my point, Rodgers is definitely running out of time. Like, he needs to just either retire or just go ahead and, because the Steelers have shown that they want him on the team.
Yeah, they have made it very clear
that they
would
want
prefer Rodgers over Russell Wilson. Last year, Russell Wilson posted a 77.5 passing grade. Rodgers was at a 76.3 passing grade, and I would argue Aaron Rodgers had the markedly better offense, in my opinion. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, better O-line. Maybe better tackles down in Pittsburgh, but that's about it.
Man, I really think what it boils down to for me, and I say this all the time, is just consistency. And if you're the Steelers, you want to bring back a guy that you already have. You have to teach him less, you know what I mean? Versus if you bring in Aaron Rodgers and now you got to run by how he works and what he does, and you got to switch up things that you've already switched up already when you brought in Russell Wilson in the first place. So I think the smartest move for them is just to bring back Russ. Try it again. Yep. They got to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Just bring in a little bit of help. Draft how you can, and see how it goes, man. You got Mike Tomlin, who's A+. He's like a top 5 coach in the NFL, if you ask me. So, yeah.
Don't ask that question to Steelers fans.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know why they don't like him so much.
I mean,
it doesn't make any sense to me.
Hold on. We're thinking this from a different perspective. They're spoiled, right? Most of them have had 2 Super Bowl victories and 3 Super Bowl appearances just in their lifetimes, on top of having the great Steelers defenses of the 70s. Like, they expect championships. Like that's their benchmark every year, is we should win the Super Bowl. And Mike Tomlin's a Super Bowl winning head coach. He knows what it takes to get there. He knows what needs to be done, and he's not doing it. So I get their mentality, but they're being spoiled about it. You know what I would give for 1 Super Bowl? Both of your lives.
Okay,
like
that's a little messed up.
No, it's fine. You guys would be remembered, and I would, at both of your funerals, I would hang the banner at both of your Super Bowls and hold it up as as everybody talked, and I'd be like, this was so the Vikings could win a Super Bowl. Thank you both.
One thing that is kind of interesting, we did a mock draft where we did the alternating picks, and I made the comment of the Tennessee Titans moving out of the 1 spot, trading it back, maybe giving it to like the Giants or something.
Yeah.
So what if the Titans kind of make a push here, kind of close to the draft, for Rodgers or Wilson?
I don't think Rodgers would go there, period, but Wilson is a different story. Wilson, I think, has a reasonable play to go to Tennessee. With Russell Wilson, it has been very evident since he left Seattle and when he was in Seattle too, he wanted the let Russ cook, right? He wanted control of the offense. He wanted to be the guy, right? Like the quarterback. And they gave him those reins back in like 2015. And let me read you his passing grades since he was given the reins, okay? 72, 80, 83, 75. And then Pete Carroll said, okay, it's not working. I'm taking the offense back. We're going to go run first. You're going to run play action, and we're going to take deep shots when we get them. And he immediately went 86, 91, 88. So jumped up tremendously, right? And he does a lot better in that environment. And since then, every team he's been on has made him the focal point, made him the point guard that he wants to be, and run the offense through me. And we're not going to run the ball 30 times a game. We're going to run it 15 to 20 times a game, and I'm going to throw the ball 30 to 40 times a game. And since then, he's been 70, 64, 72, 77. And those aren't terrible numbers, but he needs to get out of his own way and let a coach run an offense fit for him instead of running the offense he wants to do, right? I want to throw for 5,000 yards every year. My team will play better if I throw for 3,800 yards. That's what he needs to realize. Right? He has the arm strength and talent to, I think his career high, 4,700 yards and 33 touchdowns. And that was in a Pete Carroll year where, he threw the ball, let's see, he had 100 less attempts than he did in the year in which he had an 83 passer rating, in which the year we were first talking about, he had a 91 Pro Football Focus grade. So he just plays so much better within a scheme and whenever they can take the pressure off of him. But he has that mentality of like, I am the star. I need the ball. And not so much directly through that. Like he's not outwardly saying, give me the ball. But he's like, let me do it. I can do this. And you want that out of your quarterback. You want a quarterback who believes in what they can do. But at the same time, you need a guy who will actively know what's best for the team when they're not a Josh Allen, when they're not a Patrick Mahomes, when they're not a Joe Burrow, when they're not a Lamar Jackson, right? And that's the caliber he sees himself in. And I think it's partially due to the media because whenever he was young, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, right? Like third year, I think? Second year starter. This dude's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And it's the same thing that people are doing with Jalen Hurts right now, right? It's Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's a Super Bowl level quarterback. Like, is he good enough to win a Super Bowl? Yes, on a loaded team. He's not good enough to win it on a mid-level team. He's not carrying anybody to the Super Bowl. Did he perform well there? Yes. Did he do his job perfectly? Yes. Did he game manage? Yes. So,
Absolutely.
I think Russ just needs to take a step back, and maybe he's doing that right now, and I would love for that to be the case, and just truly go, I'm not Mr. Unlimited.
So where do you think he ends up then?
I would bet Tennessee is where he ends.
Really?
I would bet Tennessee.
I think it just makes more sense with him going to Tennessee as well, just because. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it would just be so poetic for Russell Wilson. Spoon, do you remember how he came in Seattle? Dull, I know you probably don't.
What do you mean? How he came in Seattle?
Like the situation when he came in Seattle, like being drafted and everything. Do you know how that situation played out?
No, I don't remember.
So, what happened was he was obviously a later round pick. I think a third or a fourth round pick. And the Seahawks had just signed Matt Flynn to a massive contract for the time. I think they had just given Matt Flynn like $19 million a year, like a 3-year, like $58 million deal at the time. I can look it up real quick. Give me 1 second. Matt Flynn Seahawks deal. But it was based. So it was a little bit less than that. It was 3 years, $26 million. But at that time, that was, 15 years ago now almost. That was a lot of money, right? A $26 million deal was a lot of money back then. I was overinflating it in my head. But back then, that was a lot of money. And so let's look up. There was one singular game that got him paid. And I believe it was in 2012. Oh, no, it was in 2011. Sorry. So let me pull up Matt Flynn's 2011 game logs. So 2011, prime Aaron Rodgers, right? Prime Aaron Rodgers. Packers are 15-0, 15-1. No, 15-1. Okay, they're 15-1. prime Aaron Rodgers. They sit everybody the last week of the season. They're like, we don't need to start our starters, and they're going against the Lions. And Matt Flynn goes out against the starters for the Lions and drops this stat line. 31 passes on 44 attempts, 70% completion percentage for 480 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception with a 136.4 passer rating.
Holy crap.
And the Seahawks go, yep, that's our guy. We need that. We're going to bring him in, and he's going to be our new quarterback one. And we're going to draft a rookie to, develop underneath him. And Russell Wilson comes into training camp and beats out Matt Flynn. And the entire city of Seattle is going, hey, Mr. New Head Coach Pete Carroll, I don't know if you know anything about the NFL. I know you're a big Stanford guy, national titles and whatever. But when you pay a quarterback, you start him. And he was like, yeah, no. The rookie runs the scheme better. We're going to start him. And they're like, yeah, I don't know if you heard us. You just paid a guy almost $10 million a year to start for you. You're going to start him. And he's like, yeah, no, the rookie. We're starting the rookie, the 3rd-round pick guy. Yeah, we're starting him.
That's crazy.
And look how it turned out, right? And so it would just be so poetic for him to now come in as a big money free agent to then get beat out by the rookie. And so, not a 3rd-round rookie this time, but
we'll see.
I think it'd be very poetic for that to happen. That's the NFL's all storylines, and I think that's a great one. But yeah, so I think he ends up in Tennessee. But Rodgers, I do firmly believe, will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. We've touched on the Vikings thing before, and I stand now even more proudly screaming it from the rooftops. I said there was a 0% chance it will happen. I meant there was a 0% chance it will happen, and there is a 0% chance it will happen unless JJ McCarthy's knee literally explodes and he can't play. If that's the case, then the Vikings are sitting there in August going, well, McCarthy's knee just exploded in training camp. What do we do when Rodgers is a free agent? They'll call him up and be like, hey, it's time. That'll happen. Like that.
He'll retire before then.
Well, but even if he retires, I think
he can
if
still
they
come
called
out of
him
retirement.
up,
Yeah,
I would be like,
Yeah,
he'd be like,
but-
yep, absolutely. He wants to play in Minnesota. If Minnesota called him today, so I listen to a lot of Vikings radio talk, obviously, and the Athletic, Diana Russini, we've talked about this in her and the Athletic, and Alec Lewis is now as well, have reported all this Vikings and Rodgers steam. They've been pumping all of it. Everybody else has kind of said, not really. They've talked and they've had discussions, but there's no contract, there's no legitimate interest, there's no steam there. Nobody's saying this is happening other than Diana Russini and the Athletic and Alec Lewis and all of them. And Diana Russini, after the report came out from Pelissero saying the Vikings have no interest in Rodgers at this time, not happening, right? She came out and immediately said, well, we're putting this on pause. There's no Rodgers and there's no yes Rodgers, but it's just a pause. Like, no Rodgers unless of an injury, but nobody's accounting for an injury. But back to my original point, Alec Lewis of The Athletic had a radio call with the Vikings PA announcer, Paul Allen, and where they talked about this. And Paul Allen was like, hey, why are you guys pushing this so hard? Why are you pushing the Rodgers team so hard? And he's like, well, my sources are saying it's happening. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to ask you to name your sources because that's BS. I would never ask you to do that. But are these sources telling you that this is going to happen? And he's like, yes, they're telling me that this is still very active. And that the Vikings sat down and they went over tons of film and they had tons of meetings and all these other things. And the Vikings PA announcer was like, well, just to be clear, I work with the coaches. I work with everybody every single day of my life. And I have multiple unimpeachable sources that say everything you're reporting is completely overblown, is completely blown out of proportion, and is complete and total BS. And that they have had talks, but there is no steam, and there has been no realistic chance that Rodgers is going to be a Viking. What do you have to say to that? And he just doubled down and was like, nope, that's totally wrong. And so
I think he might retire.
I think
It's definitely
retirement
possible.
is a legitimate possibility. I just don't think Aaron Rodgers' ego will allow him to be the Jets. Aaron Rodgers be the final Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like he has.
He wants to probably go out with some kind of playoff push.
Yeah, he wants to go out like a Peyton Manning went out. He wants to go out like a Brady went out. He can't let himself, and that's, all the great ones do it, right? I say ego. All the great ones are that way, right? Peyton Manning should have retired before he won that Super Bowl with Denver. He got benched for Brock Osweiler midway through the season. Like, he was not a good quarterback, and the Broncos defense played out of their mind. I think Peyton Manning threw like 5 interceptions in one game and got benched. Like, he should not have been playing. But Rodgers wants that storybook ending, and I just don't think it's there for him unless it's with Pittsburgh, and I don't think Pittsburgh gets him to a Super Bowl.
No.
So, but yeah, those are all my thoughts. You guys have anything you want to add to that? No? All right. Well,
I'm good, man.
like the channel, subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I went backwards there. I went double down on subscribe. Subscribe to the video. You can't subscribe to a video. That sounds like an idiot. I wish we did like video editing where we could scrub that stuff, but it's a lot of work. It's for like 2 seconds. I mean, I feel like we're people. We make mistakes. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Dalt's,
No worries.
Dalt's pretty perfect. You're pretty perfect, buddy.
That's sweet.
Well, we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Peace out.